Have you ever felt like your life was being shaped by something you never agreed to, yet you kept blaming yourself for every outcome? That's where it begins. Not with a mistake you made, not with a choice you failed to take, but with a silent script, written long before you ever opened your eyes in this world. Most people don't know this. Most people never question it. And yet you've always sensed it, haven't you? That strange tension under your skin, that invisible pull, that unexplainable heaviness that follows you through decisions you thought you were making freely, as if your path was already traced, as if the you living your life is just the surface layer of something much deeper, something ancient, something hidden beneath the noise of your everyday identity. And the truth is, you were right to feel this. Because what you call your life is nothing more than a pattern collapsing itself over and over again inside your quantum consciousness, echoing memories, beliefs, traumas, and frequencies that were installed inside your subconscious mind long before you ever had the chance to say no. Imagine this. Your destiny, your relationships, your failures, your cravings, your fears, your dreams, was engineered inside a realm you never learned to see. A place where vibrations choose outcomes, where frequencies design behavior, where emotional imprints create invisible architecture around everything you call your reality. And you've been walking inside that architecture for as long as you can remember. Maybe that's why you feel like you're constantly fighting something you can't describe. Maybe that's why every time you try to break a cycle, something drags you back to the same emotion. Maybe that's why your mind whispers things you can't trace the origin of. Maybe that's why you sabotage opportunities that feel too good, even when no one is watching. Because the truth is not that you are broken. The truth is that a part of you, an ancient part, a silent part, has been running your life in the background, like a hidden quantum code shaping your identity inside the field of infinite possibilities. You were never taught the real mechanics of your own existence. You were never told that your thoughts don't come from your brain, they rise from frequencies. You were never told that your emotions don't come from events, they come from the subconscious programs that your nervous system stored as unquestionable truth. And you were definitely never told that your destiny is nothing more than the collapsed version of your unexamined vibration. And yet, here you are, listening to something you weren't supposed to hear this soon, feeling something move inside you that you can't quite explain, recognizing yourself in words no one has ever dared dizer out loud to you. Why do you think that is? Why do you think your chest tightens right now, or your breathing deepens, or something in you whispers, "This is it. This is what I've been trying to understand my whole life"? It's because you're not just hearing information, you're remembering it. Somewhere inside your quantum field, where your identity dissolves into pure energy, a forgotten version of you is waking up, a version that knows your destiny is not fate, not chance, not divine punishment, not cosmic randomness, but frequency. You've always been connected to this, the hidden reality, the invisible architecture, the vibrational blueprint behind every decision you've ever made, every person you've ever attracted, every repeated cycle that haunted you for years. And something in you, something deep, ancient, and desperate, knows it's time to see what's been controlling your life from the shadows. If the last few seconds already made sense to you, don't move. Don't distract yourself. Don't run. Because what you're about to understand next doesn't just explain your life, it rewrites it. And it all starts when you finally turn around and face the question you've avoided your entire existence. If your destiny was created without your permission, then who has really been living your life? If something in your chest moved while you were listening, a spark, a memory, a quiet discomfort you can't fully name yet, don't brush it aside. Moments like this aren't random. They're markers. They show you exactly where your consciousness is beginning to open. So if you did feel even the slightest shift, just write "I felt it" in the comments. Not as a trend, not as a performance, but as a way to identify the precise moment your inner awareness responded. And there's a practical reason for this too. Early comments tell the algorithm that this is content worth spreading. It helps these ideas reach people who are going through the same invisible battles you've faced, people who might need this message just as much as you did. If this video supports your growth, if it brings clarity, expansion, or even a sense of calm, take a second to like the video and subscribe to the channel. It's a grounded, conscious way of helping this community grow, so more people can access conversations that actually expand their understanding of themselves and the world around them. We're just beginning this journey, and the next video goes even deeper into what you've always felt. but never had the words for. Stay close. The shift has only just begun. You stayed, and that already tells me something about you. People don't remain nesse tipo de conversa unless a part of them recognizes the truth underneath the words. So let's keep going from exactly where we left off, because what comes next isn't theory. It's the kind of story that mirrors the quiet ache most people carry without ever naming it. Imagine someone who spent years believing their failures were the result of bad timing, bad luck, or simply not being good enough. On the surface, they looked stable. They worked hard, tried to stay positive, forced themselves to push through every setback. But underneath, in that hidden layer where the subconscious mind stores vibrational memory, something else was shaping their entire life. A frequency learned in childhood, a silent wound, a pattern collapsing inside the quantum field before they even acted. They didn't notice it at first. They only saw the effects, choosing people who drained them, pursuing opportunities that dissolved at the last moment, sabotaging their own progress without understanding why. Days felt heavy in a way they couldn't translate into words. The world looked normal, but the perception was distorted by an emotional field they inherited without consent. It was only when they hit another dead end, one that felt identical to the previous ones, que perceberam que não era coincidência. It was repetition, a loop, a program, a vibrational imprint replaying itself like an echo trapped inside their energy body. And when they finally questioned that pattern, when they allowed themselves to look beneath the visible layer of reality, they realized they were not cursed. They were conditioned. Their subconscious programming had been shaping their choices, attracting familiar outcomes, and recreating the same emotional frequency over and over again, not because they were meant to suffer, but because the quantum field responds not to what we want, but to what we unconsciously are. That shift in awareness is what started their real awakening. The moment they saw the architecture of their hidden reality, everything changed. And if you're still here, listening, something tells me you felt this too. If any part of this story reflected your own experience, even a little, just write, "It happened to me," in the comments. It's not about engagement for the sake of numbers. It's about recognition, resonance, letting this community know you're part of the same expansion. If you feel this content supports your growth, your clarity, your awakening, consider liking the video and subscribing. It keeps this space alive, strengthens the energy exchange, and allows more people to find these conversations at the exact moment they need them. We're only beginning to touch the edges of what's really happening inside your consciousness, and the next part goes deeper into what you've always sensed but never fully understood. The story isn't over. It's just starting to reveal what was hidden all along. You've probably noticed the shift by now. That quiet moment when something inside you stops accepting the old explanations. This is where the illusion begins to break. Not gently, not politely, but with the force of a truth that refuses to stay buried. Because once you start observing your own patterns from a higher state of awareness, from a place of expanding consciousness, you can't unsee what the quantum field has been reflecting back at you this whole time. The hidden architecture of your life finally becomes visible, and it's almost unsettling how clear it is. Your subconscious mind wasn't just storing memories, it was broadcasting them. Every unresolved emotion, every fragment of fear, every belief formed under pressure was sending a signal into the field around you, shaping outcomes before you even realized you had choices. And the worst part is that your perception was convinced it was being rational, independent, logical, but energy lies. It convinces you that what you feel is just the way things are, when in reality it's nothing more than vibrational distortion echoing from your past. Think about how many times you thought you chose wrong, how many opportunities you walked away from because something felt off, how many relationships you sabotaged because a familiar ache felt safer than an unfamiliar future. It wasn't you, not the conscious you. It was the residue of experiences still emitting a frequency into your present moment. Your life has been reacting to emotions you don't even remember clearly, emotions you absorbed in moments too early or too painful to process. And this is where the real shock comes in. The quantum field does not respond to what you want. It responds to what you are, vibrationally. The observer effect isn't a metaphor. It's the literal interaction between your internal state and the reality you collapse around yourself. When your dominant emotion is fear, the field reflects uncertainty. When your dominant memory is abandonment, the field mirrors loss. When your dominant belief is unworthiness, the field reproduces rejection. And the cycle continues until you finally turn around and see that the enemy wasn't fate or chance. It was an outdated frequency still looping inside your energy body. But there's something important you need to understand. You are not guilty. You are not defective. You are not doomed to relive the same story forever. The past may still be transmitting, but you are the one who chooses whether to keep broadcasting it. Responsibility replaces blame. Awareness replaces helplessness. And that shift, that moment when you realize the pattern is no longer invisible, is the beginning of liberation. If this is opening your mind in a way you weren't expecting, if you can feel the structure of your old identity dissolving even slightly, take a second to hit the like button. Not out of habit, but because it tells this platform that conversations about consciousness, energy, and the hidden reality we're waking up to actually matter. And if you want to keep expanding with a community that understands the terrain you're navigating, subscribe and stay close. Comment what part struck you the most, because your voice strengthens the field we're creating together. There's something deeper waiting right after this. Something that explains why your life kept repeating itself even after you tried to change. And we're about to step directly into it. You may not realize it yet, but everything we've explored so far has been leading you toward a single, unsettling truth. The mechanism shaping your life from the shadows was never outside of you. It was never fate, destiny, karma, or coincidence. It was something far more intimate, far more constant, and far more powerful. The vibrational residue that your consciousness kept recycling into the quantum field without your awareness. And the most surprising part is that you weren't just responding to that energy. You were generating it. This is the moment where most people whisper to themselves, "How did I never see this?" Because the mechanism is subtle, almost elegant in the way it hides. It begins with a single emotional imprint, a moment of pain, confusion, rejection, or helplessness that your subconscious mind didn't know how to process. Instead of dissolving, that emotion crystallized into frequency. And once it became frequency, it became instruction. The quantum field doesn't read your thoughts. It reads your vibration. So every unresolved fragment of your past became a command, a signal broadcast into the hidden layers of reality, shaping outcomes while your conscious mind believed it was simply living life. That's why you kept attracting the same types of people. That's why similar disappointments echoed across different years. That's why opportunities collapsed in familiar patterns. The energy you ignored became the energy that defined you. The field wasn't punishing you. It was following the blueprint you were unconsciously transmitting. Once you understand this, the entire architecture of your personal reality starts to rearrange itself in your perception. You begin to see that every moment of déjà vu wasn't coincidence. It was resonance. Every cycle wasn't repetition. It was alignment with an old frequency still active in your system. And the revelation becomes even deeper when you realize that the distortion didn't come from malice. It came from survival. The subconscious mind preserves what it doesn't understand. It repeats what it doesn't dissolve. The mind believes that familiar pain is safer than unfamiliar possibility. So it guards the wound and projects its vibration outward, even when you consciously desire something completely different. This is where the true awakening begins. When you see that the greatest barrier between you and the life you want isn't a lack of effort, but a lack of vibrational clarity. You don't change your destiny by forcing action. You change it by correcting the frequency that has been programming your perception. If you pause for just a moment and breathe deeply, you may even feel this mechanism inside you right now. That subtle tension in the chest, that old emotional weight that suddenly feels less like a flaw and more like a signal waiting to be understood. That sensation alone is proof that your consciousness is shifting. It's the beginning of vibrational alignment, the first step of energy correction, the quiet whisper of a quantum shift, already happening in real time as you listen. If this realization is opening something inside you, if you can feel your inner landscape rearranging as the pieces click into place, I invite you to share your experience in the comments. Even a few words help expand this field of awareness for others who are waking up alongside you. If this message resonates, take a moment to like the video and subscribe. Not for numbers, but to strengthen the energetic bridge we're building here. A space where awakening, clarity, and transformation are shared rather than carried alone. Your presence here matters more than you know, and we're just beginning to uncover what truly shapes your reality. The next part goes deeper into the frequency you've been transmitting without realizing it, and why changing it may shift your entire future in ways you never imagined. You've probably noticed that something inside you is shifting. Not a thought, not a random emotion, but a deeper movement, the kind that rises from the place where perception meets energy. This is the moment where quantum consciousness stops feeling like an abstract idea and becomes something unmistakably alive within you. As you take in these words, you may sense the subtle rearranging of memories, beliefs, and vibrations, as if the quantum field itself were repositioning pieces of your inner world that you once believed were fixed. That's not imagination. That's response. Reality responds the moment you begin to observe yourself differently. For most of your life, you carried the weight of patterns, believing they were uniquely yours. Your mistakes, your traumas, your setbacks. But the cycles you repeated were never just personal. They were frequencies inherited, absorbed, and stored inside the subconscious mind, acting as silent codes shaping your perception. The moment you see this mechanism clearly, something loosens. Not because you force change, but because awareness dissolves what illusion once held in place. This is how expansion of consciousness truly begins. Not with force, but with recognition. A recognition that you have always been more than the version of yourself trapped inside the story. You were also the observer, the vibration, the field-shaping possibility. And now a new question emerges, one that accompanies every real awakening. If your energy misled you for so long, what happens now that you finally see it? The answer doesn't arrive as a dramatic explosion. It shows up quietly, through shifts in your perception. The world feeling slightly clearer, synchronicities appearing where randomness used to live, a sense of alignment replacing the old sense of emptiness. This is the beginning of spiritual awakening, when the hidden reality finally starts responding not to your hopes or fears, but to your frequency. As this awareness settles in, something else begins to form. Not fear, not pressure, but a subtle sense of mission. Because awakening isn't just the moment you expose the illusion. It is the moment you step into the space beyond it, a space where your vibration is no longer recycled from the past, but consciously shaped in the present. In this new state, your choices stop repeating old patterns and begin creating new realities. And what's even more powerful is that your shift doesn't just affect you, it ripples outward. Expanded consciousness never moves alone, it echoes. But this is only the threshold. There is a deeper layer waiting, a revelation that explains why, now that you observe your energy, the universe begins observing you in return. A chapter that shows how your consciousness interacts with the field in ways far more direct, far more intelligent, far more immediate than you've ever been told. And that next step is where we're heading. Before we continue, I want to hear your voice in this field we're creating together. If something awakened inside you during this video, write a phrase that anchors your expansion. I awaken. I see beyond. I am expanding. Your words help strengthen the collective energy of this community. And if this message resonated, like the video and subscribe to the channel, not out of obligation, but to support a space where transformation, clarity, and awakening are shared consciously. We're standing at the edge of the next revelation, and what comes next will shift the way you understand your reality forever.